Welcome back to another episode of Unscripted, the go-to podcast for those flipping the script and taking the unexpected path. I'm your host, Jessica Bergio, holistic life and business coach, author, speaker, and self-proclaimed high-energy hype girl. Each week, I'm bringing you inside. No gatekeeping here. I'll touch on proven holistic business strategies, powerful mindset shifts that have led my clients through massive transformations, and no BS conversation with industry leaders designed to help you get out of your own way to actively pursue a life of purpose. If you're ready to ditch the limitations at the door, hit follow and get ready to be activated to step boldly towards your big goals. Now let's dive in. Welcome back to the podcast. It's your girl, Jess Bergio. I'm so excited for today's guest. I'm always excited because I love podcasting for one, but it's even more special when I get to podcast with someone I consider a friend, a peer, a mentor, someone that I look up to, someone that I've been able to connect with in the online space because friendships are rare and people that you consistently are inspired by is equally rare. She's a new mom. She's a new author, and she's someone who's building massive waves in the community space. And I'm so grateful that she's here today on Unscripted, the podcast, to share with us her journey. Stephanie, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm so good. And your intro just made my day. So thank you so much, friend. I equally feel inspired by you. I love that we have stayed connected over the past couple of years, and we've really only met each other once in person, which is honestly insane. But to say that, I consider you a friend too, I just think it goes to show when you show up for people authentically and genuinely, like you build these incredible relationships online even.
You really do. And I think you only realize how valuable certain relationships are once you've been around the block for a while and, you're pretty seasoned when it comes to, the business education side of things and holding space for women and really growing deep roots with community because it came from a need for you, right? I mean, I feel like we always build something based off of what we wish we had and, wanting to dream up our perfect, whether it's your business or your sisterhood. I know you're newly authored in this book. This is your first book, right?
Yes, first book.
Oh my God. Well, I know, as I went through it, I really felt so seen in the book because I'm like, yes, yes, yes. I'm like, and you're doing something super cool that I want all authors to do when they launch their book is to go chapter by chapter with their book on their podcast. So I literally have all these notes and I'm totally off script already, which you guys call I even unscript myself. Walk us through how that journey's been reading your book to your podcast listeners, because that is so cool.
It was my version of Audible, right? Because I'm not going to go through and record everything on Audible. Let's just do it on my podcast. It's been really interesting actually, because I've read this book so many times, right? And the editing process and the just layer upon layer. So I know this book front and back, but every time I read it, something new kind of hits me with it. And I get to go back to a previous version of myself, which sometimes is incredible. And sometimes it's really emotional. So we were just chatting before the podcast started. The chapter this week is probably the most emotional chapter that I've ever written. So even reading it, I had to pause a few times and not choke up because it was all about how some people are seasoned for a reason. And I think that's one of the most painful experiences of entrepreneurship is when you lose people along your journey, whether that's a friend who was maybe a client, maybe a team member, a partnership, whatever the reason is, it's really challenging during those seasons. And that's a big reason why I created community was because I wanted to have peers around me as other business owners that we could weather these seasons together, because there are a lot of pieces that are not glamorous and that we maybe struggle to talk about because we don't know how to bring it up, or maybe it just feels too vulnerable and personal to even share. So this week's chapter was a little heavy to read through, but then there are other chapters that I'm as I read them, I missed that season of just spontaneity or being a younger version of myself. It's really, truly all the emotions.
I bet. I remember reading back on my book a couple different times, especially when people will send you stuff as they're reading it. They there's different things that land with different people in their different seasons of life too. And I would go back and read the section that maybe somebody referenced and just think, wow, I didn't really maybe think that part of my story was ever going to affect anybody else the way it affected me. Or there's so many people who have also gone through that. And I talk a little bit about losing friendships in abrupt, kind of confusing ways. And, even just this morning, I had an interesting conversation with a partner on something that we didn't agree on. I had a little misunderstanding. And while I do think certain misunderstandings are so normal in business, and in this online space, it's like, you can read a text and interpret it however you want. People can interpret your tone and take it personally, vice versa. And that's kind of what happened. And I realized I've been in a little bit of like a frustration season because I have so many different things going on that are pulling my attention. And it's interesting how someone else can pick up that energy and take it personal, which speaks to the season that they're in. Maybe she wouldn't have taken me personal before, and I think that's been the case in our history. Is I've always been this way, not frustrated, but like spoke my mind, make jokes, say things like whatever. But for some reason, it didn't go over well this time, and so it was cool because she did have the courage to have a conversation with me. But at the same time, it also opened my eyes to where there's gaps in the relationship and in the season gaps that we were both experiencing. And that's okay. Yes, it's painful, it's confusing, nobody wants to have those hard conversations, like, nobody, hello, like, who would love to avoid all hard conversations ever? Also, who would love to avoid the pain of growth? We all would, but we want growth, and we want to be challenged, and we want people to build deeper relationships with us, and that comes through hard conversations sometimes. So, you know, for you, when you were in that season where you were noticing shifts and changes, like, what is something that someone listening who's like, "Shit, I'm in the season right now where I've lost a person or I'm going through it right now." What advice or support would you kind of share, being that you've gone through it yourself a few times?
Something that I have been a witness of over and over again is to not burn bridges because so many things come full circle. And to thank that person, whether it went south and like it's never coming back, or we ended things, maybe okay or just like meh, it could come full circle. Like there are so many experiences that I've had where maybe what I was building was not for them in that moment, but then my next evolution aligned with their next chapter. Or maybe it's just like bless and release, right? Like thank them for the season that they served you and they were there with you, and then move on. Because every time someone exits your life or your business, I truly believe the next person walks in that is meant for your next season and your evolution. But so often we just want to grip. We want to just death grip to the people who, and it is painful because a lot of times it's like the people that help you build it are not always there to help you like continue it forward or to even be there for the celebration of what you were trying to build from the beginning. And that hurts. But at the same time, there are always going to be new people coming in with fresh ideas and new energy, and everything just has its way of working out. But I, again, just not burning bridges, staying open, lesson release, wish them well. You never know when your paths are going to cross again.
Great advice. Thank you for that in real time. Not that I would have intentionally burned the bridge, but I think by not being the bigger person and just like, I already feel like a follow-up call later, or maybe even just a nice, lovely like voice note of like, thank you so much for addressing what you did. And I'm so glad that we had that opportunity to chat. Like, closing the loop on things really helps give your own self like a sense of closure and peace, even if it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. Because I think many of us hold on to the idea of how we saw something happening, and that's our vision, right? Like, and most people, a lot of us don't even have a clear vision. So if we expect someone else to understand our somewhat clear vision, like, you're crazy. And so that vision changes as you start to take action, right? And as you started to take action, you probably started to go different directions that maybe that person or those people or that community was like, whoa, whoa, we like this version of you. Like, don't go changing on us. And I tell the story all the time that like my over 200 book of business behind the chair and all the people I worked with, all of those people would have been so much happier if I had made zero changes in my life. They were like, that's cool, whatever else you're doing, but like, what about me? And it was there that I realized like, oh my gosh, like these people can't come with me. I can't hold all of the things. And you're right. As soon as I like let that go, it opened up so much space. And of course, I walked away from that business as eloquently as I could, making sure each client was put with like somebody I could, at least refer them to. And so I love that advice on do not burn bridges, because in this online space, in this small world that we live in, you never know who knows somebody. You never know, so just always playing this on the safe side, keeping your side of the street clean, I always say.
Truly, yes. And we have so many similarities. And you built your, business as a stylist for 10 plus years, 20 years. I built, yeah, right. I built my first business for over a decade. And yeah, my people would have been so much happier if I would have not stopped teaching the fitness and the yoga classes that I love. Right. But I also think too, you've done a really great job of inviting people into your evolution. And that's what I think is the key here is yes, some people are not going to be happy for you. They're not going to want to come with you. Like, peace out. You are more of you needed to be what they wanted you to be in order for them to want to stay connected with you. But I also think there's just as many people that love seeing that next level, that next version of you. And they want to come along, even if they're not a client for that business that you're building now. Those are your like top people. They're referring you, they're connectors for you. They will talk about you, right? Because you have served them and invited them into your next chapter in your evolution. So I think just knowing that, yes, some people will exit, but focus on the people that don't. Focus and pour everything you can into the people that stay, because those are your people. That is your tribe. And I still have so many people that are that for me. And I just appreciate them so much. And I genuinely want to stay connected with them. And you're the same. Like, we want those genuine connections. And so just continue to build them. Even if you're not doing what you were doing for how many years and you pivot and evolve, invite people into your evolution, invite them into that next chapter with you and see who comes. And, just continue to love on them.
I love that. Again, great advice, great supporting advice to that same, because, honestly, like the documentation process of like life, that's what most people are fascinated by. That's why we love reality TV. People want to be taken on the journey and included. And, when you're building a personal brand alongside your business, it's so important to showcase the highs and the lows and everything in between. Even if you feel like it's a mundane Monday and you're like, I'm just doing my thing, you could be inspiring somebody or supporting someone in a way you have no idea. And that's where like podcasting and books and, like this book is going to help millions of people for years to come. The fact that she took what was in here in her head, if those listening, I'm tapping my head, what's in here and what the experience was she lived through and put it into a book for someone who she doesn't even know yet or will maybe never know, who gets to read this and interpret it the way they need to, maybe pick it up again 5, 6, 7 years later, read it again and get so many different nuggets out of it because they're in a different season as well.
Exactly. Yes.
Books are so powerful like that. I have a question. Okay, so what's like a personal boundary? Because you seem so sweet and nice. I'm like, does she have boundaries? Which I mean that with love. But has there been like a personal boundary that you've set in business that you've seen like kind of change everything, whether it's something everybody knows about or it's just like a personal boundary that you started, like a yes, no, like talk me through that. Cause so many people struggle with those initial understandings of what they need and how to protect their peace.
My weekly schedule and what I call designated days have become a personal boundary for me. So every week I have specific things that I do on a specific day. So Mondays, I do not plan to leave the house except for daycare, pickup, and I go to dance on Monday nights. So if I'm planning a meeting on Monday, which I don't typically, but it's got to be on Zoom because I am working from home in my home office where I can just plow through tasks, right? Just get so much done to start the week. Tuesdays are my meeting days. So whether that's a podcast, maybe it's a Zoom call, maybe it's an in-person. We host our in-person sister circle meetings every month, once a month on a Tuesday. That's Tuesdays. It's a different energy, right? To be out and about or conversating with people versus me being behind my screen, just like plowing through tasks. So I'm very, very focused on my energy every single day. I try to get as much of my work done by Wednesday. And so Thursday and Friday are more slower, kind of soul creative days. Fridays, I try to take off with my son or at least do like a half day. Wednesdays, I go into my real estate office and I do focused real estate tasks. And then, like I said, Thursdays are a little bit more of like a, what do I feel like doing today? Like, do I want to do work? Do I want to go meet with, I meet with this book club once a month that I've met with for like 10 years. It's a little bit more of like my soul day. And then Friday is literally like either wrapping up the week or spending time with my son. So that is a huge boundary for me because there are a million other things that I could be doing or opportunities available. But if it doesn't fit into that schedule that I currently have, which I'm always open to evolving and changing, flexing and flowing, I like that side of entrepreneurship, but I also need structures and systems in order to be the most productive so that I don't have to work at night and I work minimal weekends, which is really hard as a real estate agent. But those are the main times that I have with my son, who is almost 9 months. And I know that this season he needs me more. I want to be there more. There's so many milestones happening. I don't want to miss them. So that's a big, hard boundary that I pretty much check out from work most nights by like 4 or 5 p.m.
That's amazing. That's huge. Yeah, my mentor, Emily Ford, she talks about the different personas that she steps into each week, and like Mondays are for this, Tuesdays are for that. Chris Harder actually taught us that way back when. And like, I remember trying to be 3 or 4 different people in one day, and it is exhausting, you know?
So hard.
It's definitely hard, especially if you are a mom too, and there's just no way around pickup time, or, you know, you've got them home. So you're only going to stress yourself out if you can't focus and enjoy that time. And it is so fleeting. Like, I'm going to wake up in couple weeks and my son's going to be 14, like double digits, 2 years into teenage, you're going into 8th. I'm like, where did the time go? And so having personal time boundaries and like knowing what your structure is for the week is so helpful, because then you don't necessarily get those Sunday scaries or the overwhelms or whatever it is that sometimes keep people from taking action or getting burnt out from their business or getting overwhelmed or not knowing which direction to go. So I think that is one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. And I'm stoked that that's something you live by, because as a mom too, and juggling all the things, a lot of us have a lot of stuff going on. And like you, the name of this book, like Soul-preneur, like walk me, like, or get me inside of like that title and where that came from, because I think the title alone is just so like everybody knows what that is now. Like we get it.
Yeah, I feel like soul has been part of my identity since the beginning. My slogan for my first business was mind, body, soul. I just truly try to bring soul into everything I'm doing. That's like the passion. That's the fiery Sagittarius side of me. That's like, I can't do anything that I'm not passionate about. So I had to find the soul in everything that I do. Right. So that was really what drew me to soul and then soulpreneur. Like I knew that I wanted that like entrepreneurial word in there. So I subbed in soul because of it really is that it doesn't need to be a female, but I speak a lot to female entrepreneurs who you start your business because you're so passionate about what you're doing. And then somewhere along the way, you have to get into being strategy as well. So the slogan for the book is really where soul meets strategy. And that is how I approach business. It's how I approach life. And then the seasonality to it. When I started writing, so I started writing about 2.5 years ago. I was in my deepest valley, literally the largest pivot of my life, going from this decade-long dream that I hustled so hard for in my 20s. I was just about to turn 30, and that was when I pivoted into real estate, downsized my first business, grew my business community, Sister Circle, but I was basically walking away from that first business feeling like I failed because I couldn't afford it anymore. The space I had was so expensive. I had taken huge financial risks to have that space in 2019, and I was just about to get out of the red. And then we all know what happened in 2020. COVID hit, and it just killed my dream. So it was 2022. I was downsizing that business, walking away from it, trying to figure out what the heck I was doing with my life, feeling like a imposter, like a failure, all of those things. And I just started writing as like kind of a therapeutic outlet to just get all of this out of my head, and maybe I would publish it someday. So I wrote and wrote and wrote for that first year. And then the second year that I kept writing, I got pregnant with my first baby. And as you know, pregnancy keeps you up at night a lot. So I was up at like 2, 3 a.m. really getting downloads of like chapters. I wrote a ton during my pregnancy. I really didn't have a deadline to publish. I just figured someday these stories will, be out there. But it was actually last summer at Powerhouse Women where I just kept feeling this nudge that like, you have to publish this book soon because this baby is going to rock your world. Like, you aren't even going to be the same person. And it's going to feel so hard for you to write about this season, this chapter of your 20s, when you're just in a totally different season of motherhood. So I felt that push to publish. And so I came back from that event in August and was like, okay, I'm going to publish this. So going into my maternity leave is when I basically wrote most of the rest of the book. And then I finished it after I had my son, because that's the last chapter. But the whole seasonality behind it was, one, I needed to close a chapter or close that season of my life. And as I started writing and working with my writing coach, we discovered that there was kind of this like seasonality, cyclical nature to business, right? So many people plant the seeds, they grow, and then they hit these weathering storms and they're like, holy shit, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should go back to what I was doing before. Maybe I should go get a job. Like you question yourself and your path because you're hitting storms, which everyone runs into storms. Everyone has challenges that are unforeseen circumstances. Mine was COVID. I also weathered a lawsuit and a lot of like financial risk and instability. But we all have our own version of seasons and storms, whether it's in life or business. But if you keep going and you push to get to the other side, you experience the harvest. So I came up with this kind of metaphor that it is seasons of gardening, planting seeds, growing, weathering those storms, and harvesting, because everyone can relate to that. And just like life, it's seasonal and cyclical. And sometimes we're up and sometimes we're down, but we still have to figure out how to get through those seasons.
Yeah. And you do that so well with your community. Tell us about the community that you built. I'd love to hear more. I know a little bit about it, and I know what was your mission behind that and what was missing for you that, drove you to actually create that community.
Through COVID, I am grateful that I was a part of my mentor's community. She runs an organization for dance studio owners globally. So this was actually my landlord at the time, but she really pulled me into her community and she showed me what was possible through connections, through education. And most of it was online. There was 1 or 2 events in person a year, but she invited me in to become a certified coach for her community, which was really the catalyst behind Small Business Sister Circle. So I did this in-person live training where we came in and we put together a presentation. We led it. We gave our talk on a stage. And it was really that just like boost in confidence that I could do this. I could teach education for business owners. I could rally some women around me and just see what happens. So that was 2021. I looked around and realized that we have like no opportunities in our local area for people to not just connect, but to grow together. I'm not talking like a chamber event where you go around and pass around business cards. Like, no, thank you, pass. I wanted to create something totally unique and different that I had experienced in other places, but not locally. So I really pulled my sister into it, who is also an entrepreneur. We've only been entrepreneurs our entire life. So that was the mission behind Sister Circle, was to bring together female entrepreneurs in our local area. Started with just a picnic. We launched that. We did a social that filled up. Then I was like, let's do a conference. That was something we launched. And now we've done that 5 years, where we gather about 100 women in a room. It's just incredible energy. We've had a monthly membership for the last 2 years. So as I was scaling back my gym, my studio business, I thought, why not launch a new community for female small business owners? It was honestly the last thing I felt I should be doing, but I could not push the nudge away. I just could not get rid of this like intuition that kept telling me that this is what I was meant to create. So we've had our membership for 2.5 years now. It continues to grow and evolve and expand, and it has stretched me in ways that I love growing and evolving and expanding as a leader and a founder and someone always looking to make new connections and impact. So that was really the mission behind it, was to bring together local women. And now we're looking to expand beyond just our local area, but more the Midwest, because I don't know about you, Jess, you live in California, but around here, we don't have that many opportunities. And people are very spread out. It's very small town. And that's a big theme in the book, too, is you can still live in your small towns. I love my small town, but it doesn't have to make you think small or squish your dreams. You can live in a small town and still dream big. And that's what I'm trying to inspire other women to do here.
I love that. And that's exactly what I was just going to ask you, is like, for anyone who's reading your book or grabs your book or joining your sister circle, like what's the shift that you hope that they walk away with? Let's start with the book.
Walking away with, one, just the reminder that you're not alone in the season of life or business, or even just the experiences that you have. There are a lot of people that have also gone through them. I firsthand have gone through them. It's my own witness and testimony that I can sit with you when you're in a hard season and resonate with you. I haven't had just a linear, everything just gets better until, whatever. That's not been my experience at all. Actually, quite the opposite. So, one, that you are never alone. And two, to find that community of support for whatever area of life you need. I'm part of a local moms group. I'm part of a dance studio. I'm part of, obviously, my own community. I go to a book club. Like, I have community and sought out community for all areas of my life, because it's so important to feel that sense of support. And so that's really the takeaway, is to find that community. And if you can't find it, guess what? It might be your turn to create it. Because that's what happened to me. And I know the same for you. It's like you look around and you're like, I have an idea of what I'm looking for, but nothing is quite fitting the box. That was that intuition hit that I could not shut down anymore. So finally I gave in, and it's become this beautiful business and blessing in my life. But yeah, oftentimes we're called to create the thing that we can't find.
I could not agree more. What is the biggest lesson you would say you've learned from building out the small business sister circle community?
I think we gain the most by sitting with people in all ages, stages, industries. That is true community to me. There's benefit to being in a room of people that only do the same thing you do, right? If you're like a photographer and you're part of a community just for photographers, or whatever that might be. But I truly think some of the best conversations and ideas come from outside your industry. So if you can get into communities where, you have a 60-year-old who has wisdom beyond like what we can even fathom, and a 20-year-old sitting together who knows all about ChatGPT and AI, how can they help each other? That's what I love creating containers for. And I do feel like creating that welcoming energy that, when you come to my event or my meeting, I am going to greet you personally. I'm going to give you a hug. I'm going to welcome you. We're going to make sure you're sitting next to someone who is friendly, and like just creating that energy that like, I care that you're here. And that was also something I didn't find a lot of other places. Like, I didn't want to be just another paying customer, or just another sign up for whatever event I'm attending. I wanted to actually feel like I was part of something bigger. So that has been a huge just lesson learned, is how to create that community and that true, genuine, authentic connection for the space that I not only want to be a part of, but want to welcome other people into as well. And that goes beyond ages and stages and industries. And I just love the variety.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so for someone who's like, wow, I need to get myself into more community before I even think about maybe starting my own, what is the best way to create connection fast in a new, like even online group? Because a lot of times people can't be in person for everything. And I know we can put ourselves out there if we were able to be in person, and hopefully have an amazing leader like you who does everything you just said. But what is the best way for someone who's new to a community online to like really connect?
I've done this myself where I'm like, I want to make new connections. I feel like I have a lot of local connections and I want to make new connections. So, is there a virtual call I can join? And once I'm on that call, who can I connect with? I'm in the chat, right? I'm introducing myself. I am engaging. I can't tell you how many people get on a Zoom call. And okay, if you're driving and you got your kid pick up, whatever, that's fine. But more often than not, it's like we hide in the back of a Zoom call. And people did this in my fitness classes too, when we would live stream classes, after COVID. It's like black screen, no response. Okay, you're not showing up for that community. You're showing up for yourself, which is still good, but you're not showing up for the other people on the call. You're not engaging, you're not making connections. So I even think of the call we met on was Powerhouse Women, like almost 2 years ago. And I made it a point on every virtual call to make one new connection and then follow up with them. Like, how many people leave a Zoom call with, okay, where's the email? Like, what's their email address? What's their Instagram? Send them a message on Instagram, shoot them an email, like actual follow up. So you got to seek out those rooms of new people, first of all. Second of all, show up on the call, show your freaking face.
Yes.
Seriously,
Agreed.
I don't care how bad, I don't care if you just worked out at the gym, like whatever. Show your face, be personable, engage in the chat, in the comments, find one person that you connect with and follow up with them.
Easy, simple, repeatable. You will grow your community and your network 10x if you do that consistently. And it's, part of the battle is showing up, yes, but like fully show up. Turn your camera on no matter what you're looking like. Make a joke in the chat if you have sweaty hair still, or if you're like no makeup on. If for us ladies who feel like that's a whole thing that holds us back from showing up on Zoom calls, people don't care. Most people, again, like Steph said, are there for them first and foremost, right? So that's great. But two, the second part is building community. And we want to meet people where we're at. You don't want to have to always be on to meet people. So don't feel the pressure to like always show up and be dialed in with your makeup or hair. Like, if you got to be in the car pickup line, that's fine too. And just throw that in the chat. Like, hey guys, I'm not gonna be able to engage today, but like, I'm here to receive. Or if anybody needs anything, here's me. And like, have that in your notes section of like a quick copy and paste that you can just throw into a community saying, I'm Jess Bergio. I'm a podcast host. I'm a mom, blah, 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 blah. Like whatever pertains to that particular group you're trying to connect with, like speak to the group. Okay, so that's for new people. So for those that are like already maybe in communities or thinking about building their own community, what do you think is like one thing every online community needs, but maybe people skip or don't think about doing?
That's a great question. I would say a platform to connect outside of the meetings. I think that's really valuable. And like even in my own community, we just went through a software switch, which is always a pain and an undertaking. But it was like primarily so that we had spaces to connect in outside of our in-person and virtual meetings. So we switched to Circle, which has been phenomenal for that. And then we can encourage that engagement outside of that, right? But I think that is something, it's great to show up on the calls, but I really like having those platforms to then be like, wait, what was that girl's name? What is her business? Like we really connected, but like, how am I going to go find her? A platform in order to do that outside of the calls, I think it's a game changer.
Totally. That's one of the things I'm stuck in a challenge right now. I'm actually talking with Haley. She's encouraging me to switch over to Circle. So just hearing you say that right now, just kind of magnifies that because I joined it with a different platform that is not as interactive, like doesn't have an easy to use app. It's a little bit too generic. It's like out of sight, out of mind. So if you are building an online community, you want something that's super easy for people to use. So even if the platform might be easy for you to use, is it easy for them? Is it top of mind? How can you create something that people are going to want to go find the app every day, tap on it, and how can you be connecting? I know there's a few levels to it, and it's always great to get started, but it's so much better if you could get started in the right platform and do it right the first time. But you could easily create a free Facebook group if you're someone who's looking to just like, and or like a private Instagram where people have to message you and maybe they're paying you $10 a month to be a part of your group, and you can do a private Instagram where you can go live in there. Maybe they can't connect like on a live call, but they can be present on that. I had a friend who built a massive membership. She's in the beauty industry, with the paid private membership Instagram. She did that for a couple of years till she got to like 100K a month with members. It was $15 a month, and she moved it to a platform finally. It's
Yeah.
wild what you can create. And sometimes maybe some monetization isn't your main goal. Maybe just meeting some new friends and having women to grow with is. And so I just really encourage you guys to get out there and try to Google research what communities there are, get into Steph's world if you aren't already. Go order the book because it's going to help change your life, help you feel seen and connected. You know, I'm all about helping you guys feel seen on the show and just really live your own life as unscripted as possible. And like we started off with this conversation of just like truly owning the different seasons that you're in and appreciating them for what they are and not getting too stuck on the lows or too high on the highs, and just being able to ebb and flow with grace because it is hard. There are days that are hard where right before I hit record on this, I had a little like pity party moment and I'm like, oh, she wouldn't mind if I cancel. Yes, she would. That's why I love having stuff like this in my day because you guys, podcasting is just as much therapeutic for me to do as is, I'm sure, for you guys to listen to. And so this is the community that I'm building online, right? My podcast is in sense an essence of community. And so I've really been thinking about creating some sort of like unscripted community where it is a bunch of, people coming together who want to feel more seen. And if that sounds exciting to you guys, let me know. And I will build something like that because we have the podcast membership for podcasters. And that is a very niche specific thing that needed to be built. But I do think there's so much room for, you know, creating something similar to someone else. I want you guys to understand that if someone else is doing something similar to what you want to be doing, there is room for you too. Will you just end on that note, Steph? Because I feel like so many people go, oh, well, I know someone who's already doing that. They'll think I'm copying them, or I can't create that too because it's already been created.
Well, I will just stand by the saying that people buy from people. And if someone's purchasing from you, it's because they like you. Most products and services can be found anywhere and or sold at a cheaper rate by some big company, or AI can do it for free, right? So it really is you. It's your energy that people are buying. I'm a real estate agent. There's hundreds of thousands of them, even in my local area, right? But the people that choose to work with me are choosing to work with me because they like me. And it doesn't even have anything to do with the house that I'm selling, right? So that is something that I will stand by, tried and true. And don't get me wrong, I feel that way all the time too. It's like, okay, well, this person's doing it. Like, do we really need another XYZ? It's oversaturated, it's competitive, blah, blah, blah. But I think if you just genuinely show up as the authentic person that you are, you share from the heart and the soul like you do on your podcast and in your email stress, like that is what people are buying. And if you could sell anything if people like you and trust you. And that's why, again, going back to personal branding, why I think it's so important is that you can pivot, you can evolve, you can do whatever you want to do as an entrepreneur, as a creative, because at the end of the day, people are buying you.
I could not agree more. It's so funny. When I was a hairdresser full time and I worked in a salon of over like, at one point, the first salon I worked in had, I want to say 35 stylists and like 15 assistants. So talk about a shit ton of people.
Yes.
And then the second big salon I worked at, there were 25 stylists and a handful of assistants, a whole spa, front desk. Never once did I think I shouldn't be a hairdresser because I was in a room full of other hairdressers. Like we all did the exact similar thing, but we all did it slightly different. And there would be days that, the girl next to me would be so slow or I wouldn't see her and she's like, I don't have any clients. And I'd be like, well, what is the difference between me and her? Like, is she just not that into it? Is she not that good? But people buy from people. So even though I knew I wasn't the world's best hairdresser, I brought like the energy, the essence, the whole experience is what people were buying. And yeah, I got better as the years went on, right? I became really good at my craft. But in the early years, like how was I able to book, clients even when it wasn't perfect? And it's like, you don't have to be perfect to start. It goes back to what we talked about in the beginning too, of just like bringing people along the journey with you. People want to give people a chance. And luckily, when I think back on my seasons, thank you for this reminder. This kind of just came downloaded right now of like, I wasn't the best when I started, but I didn't have imposter syndrome. I would be honest, I've only been cutting hair for a year. That's not to say like today's haircut might go wrong, but like it really gave me the confidence to like own where I was at. I was 22. Clearly, I hadn't been doing it for that long. There was no like pretending to be somebody I wasn't. And I think the older we get and the more that we get stuck in comparison, we tend to think like, oh, I can't do it because she's doing it, or I'll never catch up to her. No, I've already gotten it through my head. I'll never catch up to how many episodes Lori Harder has unless she quits, because she's at like, 1,300 episodes, like 60 million downloads, but I'm never going to get to 60 million downloads if I stop, because I think that there's too many podcasters, or that my message is too similar to somebody else's. It's my energy, it's me. And so thank you for that reminder. And I hope this was a beautiful reminder on so many levels for all of the things that you covered. I know we could have talked about every single chapter for like 30 to 40 minutes per chapter. You guys, if you want into Steph's world, go listen to these episodes that she's been reading. You don't even have to get the book, which I think you should get the book. I love a book in my hand.
I know. I'm like, you don't even have to buy the book. If you want to buy it, please do, because I love a hardcover book. And I hope it lives on your shelf as a guide and a mentor, like you said earlier, that you can come back to. If you're in the beginning stages, yeah, those chapters are hopefully really going to resonate with you, but keep going, because eventually you're going to hit a storm, right? And then eventually you're going to have growing pains, and eventually you will be in different seasons. So I hope it's something that people can just keep coming back to.
And I think that this would be a great book if you are listening and you're thinking about building community with some soul sisters to read together and do a little mini book club, especially if you guys are early stage entrepreneurs, or you're just getting started in, say, a new pivot, or if you're in a season of strong head wins and things feel really challenging and you do need support, but you're like, I'm not really ready to like host a full-blown community. I don't really want to be the leader of something right now. I still want to really receive. A book club is such a good way to do that, because you're all reading from the book and then you get to distill how that impacted you. It's a great conversation starter. I love creating like 3 to 4 women in a book club is really powerful. Even bigger is better if you've got the pool, but like being intentional about who you ask to be in your circle, because you really can build like a magic table of your own to go float off into the space with and build your business, and stop being so hard on yourself that maybe you're not getting invited to the bigger table. Can we tell that I'm talking about myself? And stop worrying about where you're not at and what you don't have, and focus on how can I build where I'm at with what I do have and the resources that I have. And that's why books and podcasts like this are so, I think, important on our journey, is to find the people that light you up and keep you motivated and inspired and encouraged, because they're doing it too. So I hope you got something amazing out of this episode, whether you took us on your walk or we're in the car with you, or maybe you're on vacation. I don't know. It's summertime. Stephanie, thank you for everything that you do and showing up the way that you do. I'm so grateful that I get to see you this month at Powerhouse, and we get to spend some time together. I know.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I love this conversation.
It was a good one. And where can people find you?
I hang out mostly on Instagram at Stephanie Lee, Lea Ross. I also have a page for the podcast and the book, which is Soul Driven with Steph, or you can find smallbusiness.sistercircle for community.
Amazing. You guys go get in her world. And if you love this episode, we love a good little dose of validation. Do a little screenshot and share it on social media, and go grab the book. All this stuff will be down below in the show notes. And we'll see you guys on the next episode of Unscripted. Giving back is easy. Leave Unscripted your 5-star rating and written review. I appreciate your support more than I could ever put into words. Giving back is easy. Leave Unscripted your 5-star rating and written review. I appreciate your support more than I could ever put into words.